Welcome to How to Yugioh. How to Yugioh Solemn Evolution. Chapter 1. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about Solemns, the Solemn counter traps in Yu-Gi-Oh! And how they've evolved over the years, and the new Solemn trap coming out in the next set, right? And how that really changes things. With that being said, let's get on with the rest of the video. Chapter 2. Alrighty then. As you can see in front of you, there are two Solemn traps. The first one being Solemn Judgment and the other being Solemn Strike. The first ever Solemn card to be released was Solemn Judgment. That was very early in Yu-Gi-Oh's lifespan.
Facts.
However, it didn't really see play till the XYZ format, and even then it was few and far between. I think it was semi-limited at the time, possibly limited. And so over time, Solemn Judgment has become a better and better trap. And recently, I think last year, Solemn Judgment went back to one again. And then we have Solemn Strike coming out in the XYZ era as well. This is a card that reshaped counter traps and basically brought about the feeling or the evolution of counter traps and how they affect the game. Very important to note that Solemn Strike was a counter trap that you would see everywhere. This was a counter trap. This was a trap that was very similar to what Ash is today on the time of its release. You would see it in every single deck in the meta scene. It was everywhere. And it went to 2 to 1. It was just absolutely, it was played everywhere. And I think it was only with the introduction of Ash Blossom did Solemn Strike just vanish from decks completely.
It's all coming together.
So it goes to show just how I think Max C was there, and we still played Solemn Strike. It was a way to counter Max C, but again, I'm telling you, it was everywhere. So yeah, Solemn Strike, really powerful card, really showcasing the change it had for Yu-Gi-Oh was immediate, and it essentially was the start of power creep when it comes to traps. And in Yu-Gi-Oh now, traps really have to have the effects of Solemn Strike or higher. It became a benchmark of how us as players see traps in Yu-Gi-Oh. They need to do something similar to Solemn Strike or better, just to be considered to be played. Really, Solemn Strike is a card, for better or worse, has raised the bar for what we expect traps to be, especially in the competitive scene. Well, let's go on to the next slide. Chapter 3. We have Solemn Scolding and Solemn Warning. Solemn Scolding coming out a few, 2 to 3 years later after Solemn Strike and Solemn Warning. Solemn Scolding just didn't see play. I think it's the only Solemn card that just saw very fringe play in the competitive scene and then just was abandoned. It was good for like 1-2 months, maybe into one particular format, pendulum format, and then it was just not used again. Solemn Warning was a card that has been used most of the times, especially during the XYZ era, along with Solemn Strike. It was just the Solemn Brigade, we called it back in the day, where these were just cards that were just must-haves in your deck. They were just really, really good. Solemn Warning being one of them. Pair it with a Solemn Strike, and you were just off to the races. Fantastic combo. It was put to 2, I think 1, and then over the years it's now back at full power to 3.
When nothing ruins the game plan.
I think all the Solemn cards have aged pretty well and are really useful. Even today, I would say, it's just the issue is that hand traps have fulfilled the role of what the Solemn cards were doing. back then. And I think Ash Blossom really has showcased what, along with other hand traps, have really just power crept what the Solemn traps were doing.
Facts.
And that's essentially it. Let's go over to the next slide that showcases the new Solemn counter trap coming out in the latest set. Chapter 4. And so in this slide, you can see the latest Solemn counter trap Solemn report. Let's read its effect. You can activate this card the turn it was set by revealing one other set trap you control. When a spell or trap is activated, activate one of these effects. Pay 1500 life points, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And if you do that, for the rest of this turn, neither player can activate cards or the effects of cards with its same original name. Or you can pay 3000 life points, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card, and then your opponent banishes all cards with its same original name from their hand and deck. Essentially, what this means is that this card now, I would say, is the most powerful Solemn counter trap we've had, barring Solemn Judgment.
That's too strong.
And I definitely see this card going to 1 in the future, as it's extremely powerful. Being able to just, for the price of 1500, negate a spell or trap and make sure that that spell or trap with that particular name cannot be used, right, for the rest of that turn is absolutely huge.
There are no limits to the power of this card.
We have a lot of archetypes now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is no longer a game now where we're mixing, where archetypes don't exist. Archetypes exist, and loads of spells and traps share the same name. So just being able to just a counter trap, just negate one card to stop an entire strategy is absolutely insane. Definitely. And by paying 3000 life points, being able to banish all copies of that particular card from everywhere, from hand and deck, again, is insane and is showcasing just how powerful this card is. And on top of that, you can play this card on turn 0.
You can't handle the truth.
Essentially, if this card is in your hand, you can set like your infinite impermanence. They activate a spell or trap or something. You can use this card. So if they going second, you can still use this card. Absolutely insane. You can use it going second. You can use it going first. Very versatile. The fact that you can activate it the turn it was set, again, really, really good. And this seems to be something that we don't see on a lot of traps very often. I think this is the 5th card in the game that trap that you can activate the turn it was set. This is not an effect that you see on cards often. The only archetype that has this sort of clause where you can activate them the turn it was set is Malice. Hence why I think Malice has been really, really good. But this is neither here or there. The most important fact is that this is a Solemn counter trap. This is the first time we have a counter trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! That can be activated the turn it was set. Usually, we've had traps that can be activated the turn they were set, but they're usually normal traps. So this changes the whole dynamic here. And we'll see whether we're going to get more counter traps like this one with the clause of activating it the turn it was set. Overall, fantastic card. Definitely expect to see this card limited in the future because its applications are really good. In fact, too good. And I think it will be abused, especially in the side deck, as soon as it comes out. Well, let's head on to the conclusion. Final chapter. So, in the end, I've talked about the Solemns, and how they've impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! I would say each time a Solemn card has come out, it's had a huge impact on the game. Solemn Strike had impact as we saw it everywhere at the time of its release. It was in every deck. You could not escape it. It was in the. It was, if it was not in the main, it was on the side. Same thing with Solemn Warning. Solemn Scolding was there for a time, but it wasn't as proliferated. We didn't see it everywhere. Solemn Judgment, has been just a staple all throughout its release. It's just been really, really good. It's been going from 3 to 2 to 1. Then it went back to 3. And now, recently, last year, it's gone to 1. We now have Solemn Report. Now, Solemn Report, again, I see it just immediately in the near future going to 1. You look at this card, it's the only Solemn card that can be activated the turn it is set, which is huge. You can activate the card at turn 0. Let that sink in. The fact that it can negate a spell or trap with the cards of the same name again is huge, and you cannot use that card for the rest of the turn. Just the fact that when you negate a spell or trap with 1500 life points, that spell or spells with a similar name to that card cannot be used for the rest of the turn is huge. Or by paying 3000, you can remove all copies of those cards, banish them from the hand and deck. Again, huge. This is going to be very interesting, definitely, as to how this card is going to be utilized. Very interesting, to say the least. Well, that's all I've got to say in this video. Tune in next time as I talk about more things on this channel. Hope to see you soon.
We come to the end of this video. So, as I like to say, you are one step closer to becoming a Yu-Gi-Oh master. My fate, right, is in your hands.